Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so, have you ever felt that sudden, undeniable itch to just pack a bag and go somewhere completely unknown? Well, today we're jumping straight into the profound quest for truth by exploring astrology's expansive ninth house. Whether you're charting your own birth chart or you're just fascinated by how these ancient systems categorize the human experience, the ninth house is absolutely one of the most enriching sectors you can possibly explore. I mean, let's be real. We all have this incredibly deep, fundamental desire for meaning, right? What is the ultimate why of your existence? It's a massive, frankly overwhelming question. But the really cool thing the source material reveals is how astrology actually maps this human search directly into our birth charts, giving us an amazing framework for our own grand life journey. So picture this, sitting right up in the top half, this solar hemisphere of your chart, this house acts as our ultimate gateway to the wider world and our spiritual growth. Historically, back in the Hellenistic tradition, it was literally called the place of God. I know, heavy stuff. But it forms this harmonious flow of energy, acting as a super positive, supportive place where revealed knowledge and divine wisdom just pour into a person's life. It's basically the cosmic sector where your biggest, most mind-blowing light bulb moments happen.
All right, here's our itinerary for today's pilgrimage. We're covering the quest for truth, exploring the ninth house, planets as your guides, tackling the empty house mystery, and wrapping up with the eternal journey.
So let's jump right into part 1, the quest for truth and seeking meaning.
This perfectly illustrates our search for meaning, governing everything from stepping way outside our comfort zones to pursuing advanced wisdom. The ninth house rests on a few absolute core pillars. We're talking expansive horizons, so foreign travel, international business, and immersing yourself in totally different cultures. But it's also about higher education. Actually, fun fact from the sources, on a practical level, this house governs the university system, which historically grew straight out of religious institutions. So it's really the foundational stage for gaining that advanced philosophical grounding.
Moving on to part 2, exploring the ninth house, or as I like to think of it, leaving the local behind. To truly wrap our heads around the sheer scope of the ninth house, we kind of have to compare it to where we start out. See, while your third house handles the everyday, mundane routines, your local neighborhood, your early environment, the ninth house is all about leaving that familiar bubble completely behind. It's about extraordinary spiritual pilgrimages. It represents the foreign. And hey, that doesn't just mean jumping on a plane. It means actively seeking out unfamiliar teachers, wild new books, and experiences that purposely challenge the worldview you were raised with.
Next up is part 3, planets as your guides. Think of these as your personal traveling companions.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how different planetary placements act as your unique personal travel guides. Take a look at the inner planets. Each one brings a totally distinct flavor to your journey. If the sun is in your ninth house, it's in its place of absolute joy, meaning you might naturally just radiate as this amazing teacher or thought leader. Got the moon here? Your journey is going to be super intuitive. You might be an eternal student who feels incredibly at home traveling the globe. Mercury brings this intellectual, rational decoder vibe, maybe pointing toward publishing. And Venus? Venus brings an aesthetic touch, literally finding wisdom through cultural beauty and art.
I just love how this illustrates that the mind and the heart can take completely different paths to arrive at the exact same divine destination. Seriously? Mercury wants to dive headfirst into reams of ancient texts or decode complex statistical models to find a working hypothesis of reality that it can share globally. Meanwhile, Venus wants to travel abroad, take in the stunning architecture of an ancient temple, and find spirituality through beautiful philosophical relationships.
Now, if you have Mars here, your quest is intensely dynamic. You are absolutely not a passive seeker. Instead, you're a literal defender of your beliefs. Your quest for truth might involve rigorous physical discipline, think studying martial arts that have a deep metaphysical basis. You're in a courageous fight to push through educational challenges and put your philosophy into practice through action, testing out if your worldview actually holds up out there in the real world.
Let's zoom out to the outer giants for a second and see how this builds. We're comparing Jupiter's wildly optimistic fortunate abundance with Saturn's highly disciplined search for a solid foundation. Since Jupiter is the natural ruler of this house, having it here is exceptionally lucky, bringing in mentors, expansive vision, and this real guru energy from foreign travel. Saturn, on the flip side, makes you the ultimate skeptical seeker. You aren't taking anything blindly on faith. You require what the sources call a stable table of proven logic.
Sure, your higher education might take a bit longer, but the wisdom you build, it's like fine wine, deep, rigorous, and incredibly resilient.
All right, part 4, the empty house mystery, which really comes down to fluid engagement.
So here's a super common question. What if absolutely nobody is home in your 9th house? Honestly, it's a huge source of anxiety for people. They look at an empty sector in their chart and immediately panic, thinking, wait, am I never going to travel? Am I just not a deep thinker at all?
Well, deep breath, because you absolutely do not need to panic. The sources reveal that an empty house simply means a much more fluid, less complicated engagement with these themes. It definitely doesn't mean you're grounded forever. It just means your life's heaviest challenges and central focuses are probably located somewhere else. The affairs of your 9th house are instead managed quite safely by whichever planet rules the sign on that house's cusp. So if Mercury rules that sign, you just look to where Mercury is hanging out in your chart to see exactly how your personal quest for truth unfolds.
And finally, that brings us to part 5, the eternal journey and becoming a pilgrim.
As we reach the final destination of this explainer, let's take a second to really reflect on what this specific astrological house asks of us. It literally invites us all to become pilgrims on the magnificent journey of life. This sector of the sky is a beautiful testament to the human spirit's absolute refusal to just stay small. It constantly pushes us away from the familiar routine of our local sphere and pulls us toward the brilliant expanse of the global. It reminds us that there is always, always more to learn. So, whether it means finally cracking open that massive philosophical book you bought ages ago, enrolling in a fascinating university lecture, or actually booking a flight to explore a distant foreign land, I want to leave you with this final thought for your own personal pilgrimage. The universe is unbelievably expansive, and it's out there waiting for you. How will you step completely outside your comfort zone and seek your own version of the truth today? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I hope this helps you navigate your very own magnificent journey.